Imagine this: every single time you feel offended, you're giving away a piece of your power. You're letting something outside of yourself shape how you feel inside. Think about that for a second. Every time someone's words or actions twist you up inside, you're handing over the reins of your own joy, your own peace. It's like saying, here, take my happiness. I trust you to handle it. But what if you decided right here, right now, to take that power back? What if, instead of getting offended, you met those moments with love? Now, maybe this sounds simple, but let me tell you, this shift can transform everything. It's radical, and it's freeing. See, when you start choosing love over offense, you're no longer a puppet on someone else's string. You're claiming the power that's been in you all along. Here's a truth: offense is a choice. You're the one deciding to feel hurt or diminished by what someone else does or says. You're holding on to that. But here's the thing we often forget: that we have another option. We can choose to meet whatever comes our way with a soft heart, a heart filled with love instead of a bruised ego. Just think about how much energy it takes to stay offended, to keep reliving that slight, replaying the hurt. It drains you, doesn't it? Imagine what your life would be like if you stopped giving all that energy to resentment and chose to pour it into love instead. Here's a question for you. What if you let go of the need to control how others see you? What if you stopped letting someone else's opinion decide how you feel about yourself? Imagine what that freedom would feel like. Offense is nothing more than a reflection of our own insecurities, our own unhealed parts. When someone says or does something that stings, it's often because they're poking at a wound we haven't healed yet. Imagine yourself as a mirror. Whatever someone throws at you, it just bounces right back off. You don't absorb it, you don't let it define you. Because when you choose love over offense, you're like water. Nothing can hold you, nothing can cling to you. You're free. Here's a little exercise for you. Think of someone who has offended you recently. Now close your eyes and picture that person in front of you. Instead of seeing them as someone who hurt you, try seeing them as someone who's hurting. Imagine that their words, their actions are coming from a place of their own pain. Imagine that they're doing the best they can with what they know. When you start to see people like this, offense fades away. It's hard to be angry at someone when you see them with compassion. You are responsible for your own inner peace. Let that sink in for a moment. It means that no matter what happens around you, you have the power to stay centered, to stay at peace. You don't need to change the world, you just need to change how you see it. When you're offended, you're saying, I need the world to be a certain way for me to be happy, but real freedom is letting go of that need. It's deciding, I don't need the world to be any certain way. I choose happiness, I choose peace, no matter what. Here's another powerful thought. Every time you choose love over offense, you're sending a ripple out into the world. You're changing the energy around you. Imagine if everyone you met felt loved and accepted instead of judged or dismissed. Imagine how powerful that would be. When you choose love, you're not just changing your own life, you're changing the world. Think of love as a light inside you. Every time you get offended, that light dims a little. But every time you choose to respond with love, that light shines brighter. It becomes a beacon, a guide, not just for you, but for everyone around you. Here's a little reminder for you. Every single person you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. When you feel offended, you're seeing things from your own perspective. But imagine if, instead, you could see things from theirs. Imagine the compassion that would rise up in you, that compassion, that empathy, that's the gateway to love. That's the bridge that takes you from offense to freedom. And I'll leave you with this thought: life is too short to hold on to offense. It's too precious to waste on resentment. Every moment you spend feeling hurt or slighted is a moment you could be spending in joy and peace. So the next time you feel that familiar sting of offense, take a deep breath. Remind yourself of your own power and choose love. Imagine this: instead of defending your ego, you simply open your heart. Picture that for a moment and let the power of that idea settle in. When you release the need to be right, when you let go of that deep-rooted urge to defend your position, your pride, your ego, you're stepping into a peace so deep, so unshakable, it's like finding solid ground in the midst of a storm. This peace isn't just quiet or passive. No, this peace is alive. It's an unbreakable strength. See, every time we feel compelled to prove ourselves, to defend our identity or our opinions, we're letting our ego take the lead. The ego, it's that part of you that constantly demands validation. It's like a shadow, always whispering, I am right, I am important, I matter. But imagine if, instead of listening to that whisper, you simply let it drift away. Imagine letting your heart open wide and asking yourself, what if I don't need to be right here? What if, instead, I just choose to be loved? Let's go deeper into this because it's not an easy practice, is it? Our society trains us to defend, to compete, to prove ourselves worthy by being right. But if you're defending your ego, you're only keeping yourself locked up in a tiny, boxed-in version of who you truly are. The heart, your true self, is infinitely larger than that. It has no boundaries, no conditions, no limits. It's pure acceptance, pure freedom. What would it feel like to step into that space? Imagine the situations that usually make you feel defensive. Maybe it's an argument with a loved one, a disagreement with a coworker, or a harsh word from a friend. What happens in that moment? Your chest tightens, your mind starts racing with arguments, justifications. You're ready to go to war. But in the middle of all that noise, there's a voice, soft but steady, whispering, what if you don't need to be right in there? My friend, is the doorway to true peace. Think about this, you don't need to defend what's true. Truth stands on its own, effortlessly. Truth needs no defense, but your ego, it's fragile, it needs protection. That's why the ego feels so much tension. It always fears being threatened. It always fears being wrong, and so it's always on guard. But your heart is pure truth, pure love. And love doesn't need to defend itself. Let's do a little experiment here. Next time you feel the urge to defend, pause, breathe. Ask yourself what would happen if I just let this pass. What if I simply listened and responded with love? Try it. Feel the space that opens up when you don't cling to your opinions, when you don't try to change someone else's mind. Notice how that space fills with peace, with understanding, with calm. Suddenly you're free. Here's a powerful thought. When you let go of defending yourself, you invite others to do the same. You create a space for true connection. When you're no longer trapped in the prison of being right, you can actually see the other person not as a challenge or a threat, but as another human being, just like you, seeking to be seen, to be loved. You realize that underneath every conflict, every misunderstanding is simply a desire to connect. And when you open your heart, you meet that desire with compassion. This is the irony of the ego's defenses. The more you defend, the more you push people away. But when you surrender the need to be right, you open a path for love to flow in. People feel safe around you. They feel seen, heard. They sense that you are someone who doesn't need to dominate, who doesn't need to put them down to feel strong. And in that space, true connection blossoms. Try this the next time you're in a heated discussion. Take a moment to listen with your whole being. Not just your ears, not just your mind, but with your heart. Imagine you're hearing with an open, expansive heart. Let go of the need to respond, to argue, just be there fully present. You'll start to notice things, maybe the fear in the other person's voice, maybe their struggle, their hope, and suddenly your own defensiveness melts away. In that moment, you're experiencing true love, love without conditions. And isn't that the kind of love we all seek? A love that doesn't judge, doesn't demand, doesn't compare. A love that simply allows us to be. This love, this unconditional acceptance, is what we all carry within us. But to access it, we have to release the need to protect, to control, to prove. Imagine your heart as a vast open field stretching out in all directions. When you're defending your ego, it's as though you're building a wall around that field brick by brick. Each judgment, each criticism, each grudge adds another brick. But the moment you let go, the walls crumble and your heart is free to expand, to touch everything around it. This is where true power lies, not in dominating or winning, but in opening, allowing, and embracing. When you choose love over defense, you choose peace over chaos. And that peace, it's unbreakable. It doesn't depend on the opinions of others, on circumstances, on winning arguments. It's a peace that's rooted deep within you, unshakable and constant. Here's the real magic as you practice this. The need to be right, to defend, starts to dissolve on its own. You start to realize that your true self, your soul, needs no defense. Your soul is complete, whole, unbreakable. And the more you connect with this part of yourself, the less you feel the urge to cling to the smallness of the ego. You become bigger, more expansive, more free. So the next time you find yourself at the edge of a disagreement, pause, step back, breathe, and then open your heart. Ask yourself, how can I bring love into this moment? You don't need to agree, you don't need to concede. All you need to do is open, allow, accept. Because in the end, love isn't about winning or losing, it's about connecting, about seeing yourself and others, about recognizing that at our core, we are all the same. Every moment you choose to let go of your defenses, you're stepping closer to this truth. You're moving away from fear and closer to love, away from division and toward unity. And in that space, there's a peace that no one can take from you, a peace that cannot be shaken, a peace that's yours forever. So ask yourself what matters more, being right or being loved? Because in that answer lies the path to true freedom, to a life filled not with conflict, but with peace. What if the things that offend you are simply mirrors showing you where love hasn't fully arrived yet? What if every offense, every irritation is nothing more than a call to bring more compassion, more light into the places that need it most? Just sit with that for a moment. Instead of looking outward, getting tangled up in someone else's words or actions, what if you looked inward and asked, where is love missing in me right now? Think about this. Every time you feel offended, you're actually being shown a part of yourself that hasn't healed yet. A place that's still waiting for understanding, still waiting for acceptance. And in that moment, you have a choice. You can respond with anger, with resentment, with more separation. Or you can choose to bring compassion into that space. And let me tell you, choosing compassion, choosing love will change everything. Imagine someone says something that just hits a nerve. Maybe they question your intelligence, your beliefs, or your values. Instantly, you feel that familiar burn of offense. It's like a spark that ignites, ready to catch fire if you let it. But what if, instead of feeding that spark, you took a deep breath and thought, this feeling right now, this discomfort is pointing me towards something unhealed in me. What if you saw that offense as a mirror, reflecting where love is needed in you? Here's a thought that might surprise you often. The people who offend us the most are our greatest teachers. Why? Because they reveal parts of ourselves we'd rather not look at. They uncover the beliefs, the fears, the insecurities we've kept hidden. When someone offends you, it's as if they're holding up a mirror, showing you something about yourself. And when you're willing to look, really look, that's when you can start to transform. Here's something powerful. Every offense is an invitation. It's asking you to see where you can bring more light, more compassion into your life. It's a chance to let go of judgment of yourself, of others, and to embrace love instead. So often when we feel offended, it's because we're clinging to an image of ourselves that feels fragile. We're afraid someone else's opinion might threaten our sense of self. But here's the truth, no one can diminish your worth. That's something only you can decide. Imagine how different life would be if you could approach every offense as an opportunity to grow. Let's say you're in a conversation and someone dismisses your ideas or makes a cutting remark. Instead of reacting, instead of letting their words define how you feel about yourself, you could pause and think, what part of me is feeling threatened right now? And when you do that, you begin to peel back the layers to get to the heart of why that comment had the power to sting. Sometimes offense is a call to love yourself more. If someone questions your worth, your capabilities, or your ideas, it might be shining a light on areas where you haven't fully accepted yourself. When you find peace within, when you have deep-rooted love and respect for yourself, offense loses its power. It just rolls off of you. Because you know at your core that nothing anyone says or does can touch your essence. Think about it like this life is constantly giving us opportunities to grow. And every offense, every irritation is a little nudge. It's asking, can you bring more love into this moment? Can you let go of the need to be right, the need to defend, the need to protect? That's where true freedom lies, in letting go of all the ways we try to protect our ego and instead choosing love. Let's get real for a second. The world will always have people and situations that challenge you. There will always be something that doesn't align with your beliefs, your values, or your sense of self. But if you spend your life feeling offended every time you encounter a challenge, you're giving away your peace. What if, instead, you saw those challenges as chances to rise above, to deepen your capacity for love, for compassion, for understanding? Here's a practice for you. The next time you feel offended, pause. Take a breath. And instead of reacting, ask yourself, what's this moment trying to teach me? Maybe it's teaching you patience. Maybe it's showing you where you're still holding on to pain. Maybe it's inviting you to forgive yourself or someone else. Whatever it is, see it as a gift. Because in that moment, you have the power to transform. Now, here's where it gets even more profound when you choose love over offense. You're not just changing your inner world, you're changing the energy around you. Offense creates separation. It says, I'm here and you're over there. You've hurt me, and I'm going to hold on to that hurt. But love says, I see you, I understand, I may not agree with you, but I choose to meet you with kindness. Imagine if everyone took a moment to see beyond the offense and looked for the love that was missing. Imagine a world where we chose compassion over judgment, understanding over resentment. That's the power you hold every single time you feel offended. You have the choice to bring more light into the world, and let me tell you, when you choose that light, it spreads, it touches everyone you encounter. Think about this the next time someone says, or does something that bothers you. What if you saw it as a test? A test to see if you can keep your peace, if you can stay centered in love, and if you feel yourself getting pulled into offense, just breathe. Remind yourself that this moment is a mirror. It's showing you something about yourself, and if you don't like what you see, that's okay. It's simply an invitation to grow. So I'm going to leave you with this thought. Every offense is an opportunity. It's a chance to look within, to bring more compassion into your life, and to shine that compassion out into the world. Offense only has the power you give it. Choose love instead. Let that love become a beacon, guiding you, freeing you, and lighting the way for others. Imagine this: what if you could feel joy every single day, no matter what people say, no matter what they think of you? Think about that freedom for a second. Imagine not needing anyone's approval to feel whole, to feel happy, to feel at peace. That's what we're talking about here. This isn't just an idea, it's a way of life, a mindset that will transform you from within. When you replace offense with love, you're not just adding positivity, you're stepping into true, unshakable power. See, most people live with a kind of invisible prison around them, a prison built from others' judgments, expectations, and opinions. Every single day they walk around worrying, what do they think of me? Was I good enough? Did I say the right thing? It's like they're constantly handing their happiness over, putting it into someone else's hands. And every time we do this, every time we take offense, we're adding another bar to that prison. But here's the beauty of it: you hold the key. The moment you choose love over offense, that prison begins to dissolve. It's like the bars just melt away. And suddenly, no one can take your joy because you no longer live by their judgments. You're free. Free to be yourself, free to love without conditions, free to experience true happiness without waiting for someone else to give it to you. I want you to picture this. Imagine you're standing in a storm. The winds are howling, the rain is pouring down, and all around you there's chaos. But in the center of that storm, there's a calm, peaceful space. That space is you. It's the real you, untouched by the chaos, untouched by the opinions of others. When you choose love, when you let go of offense, you're stepping into that calm center. You're becoming unshakable. Here's a powerful truth. No one can make you feel inferior without your consent. Think about that. No one has the power to bring you down unless you give it to them. That's why choosing love is so freeing. It's like saying, I refuse to let anyone else control my experience. You're taking back your power, and in that moment, you become unstoppable. Now, maybe you're thinking, but isn't it natural to get offended? Isn't it human? Sure, we're all human. We all feel emotions. But here's the thing, when you're offended, it's not a reflection of someone else, it's a reflection of your own unhealed places. It's showing you where you still feel vulnerable, where you still need validation, where you still feel incomplete. Offense isn't something that happens to you, it's something you create inside of you. And because you create it, you can also choose to let it go. Imagine your mind as a beautiful, peaceful lake. When you take offense, it's like throwing a rock into that lake, creating ripples of anger, resentment, and hurt. But here's the magic: you don't have to throw the rock. You can simply let it fall away. When you do that, the lake remains calm, undisturbed, reflecting only beauty and peace. Here's a little exercise. The next time someone says something that feels offensive, stop for a moment. Just pause, take a deep breath, and ask yourself, is this really about me, or is it about them? 9 times out of 10, the answer will be clear. Most of the time, people project their own fears, insecurities, and doubts onto others. When you recognize this, the offense loses its power. It just doesn't stick. You're free to move forward with love instead of anger, with peace instead of pain. And let's go a bit deeper here. What if every single person who offended you was actually here to teach you something? What if they were here to help you grow, to show you where you're still holding on to fear, where you're still feeling insecure? Imagine looking at every situation, every slight, every judgment as an opportunity to choose love instead. When you do this, you're no longer reacting, you're responding with intention. You're creating a life that isn't defined by what others do or say, but by the love and compassion you carry within. This is where you start to live without limits. When you're no longer worried about other people's judgments, you're free to explore, to create, to express yourself fully. You don't need permission to live your truth, to chase your dreams, to love openly. You're no longer weighed down by the burden of what will they think. You're lighter, freer, more alive than ever. Let's talk about joy for a second. True joy isn't dependent on external circumstances. It's not something you find in other people's approval, in a job title, or in material things. True joy comes from within, from a place that's untouched by the outside world. When you stop living by others' judgments, when you replace offense with love, that joy starts to flow naturally. It's like a river that's been blocked by stones, suddenly bursting free. It's pure, it's endless, and it's yours. And here's a little secret for you. When you stop letting offense control you, people notice. They feel the shift in your energy. They're drawn to you because you're different. You're no longer reactive, you're calm, centered, grounded. And in a world that's constantly reacting, that calmness is magnetic. People are drawn to your light, to your peace, and without even knowing it, they begin to mirror it. Imagine what that could do for your relationships, for your career, for every interaction you have. When you choose love, when you choose to live beyond offense, you're bringing a new kind of energy into the world. You're showing others that they too can be free, that they don't have to live in that prison of judgment. You're becoming a beacon of possibility, a reminder that there's a better way to live. And remember this, every single day is a choice. Every moment you have the power to decide how you respond to the world. You can choose offense, or you can choose love. You can let others take your joy, or you can decide that it belongs to you and no one else can touch it. So today I want you to choose love, choose freedom, choose to be unshakable. Because that's who you truly are, boundless, free, and unstoppable. Imagine this, what if love could make you untouchable? Picture it living a life where no one's words, no one's opinions, no one's looks could shake you. That's not just a dream, it's a reality that's possible when you start embracing love over resentment. Imagine living in a way where the words and actions of others simply can't pierce the armor you've created, an armor built not from anger or retaliation, but from a place of pure, unwavering love. You see, when you're grounded in love, you're unbreakable. Offense, resentment, bitterness, these things can't stick to you when you're rooted in love. Imagine it like this: the more you love, the less there is for negativity to grab hold of. Love makes you resilient in ways that nothing else can. Imagine yourself as water. No matter what someone throws at you, it just passes through, leaving you untouched and unbothered. That's the freedom that comes when you let love guide you. What would it feel like to live that way? Imagine walking into every situation, meeting every person without fear of what they might think, say, or do. When you choose love, you're not on the defense anymore. You're not calculating, bracing for impact. You're living openly, freely. Love liberates you because with it, you're not tethered to anyone else's perceptions. Let's be real, it's easy to feel offended. It's the default setting. Someone says something critical, you react. Someone gives you a look, and you interpret it in the worst possible way. But what if you could stop that cycle? What if, instead of letting it in, you chose to see it as an opportunity, a reminder to respond with love? This is a radical shift, but it's one that will change the entire way you experience your life. Here's something that might surprise you most of the time. When people say or do something that offends us, it has nothing to do with us. It's a reflection of their own story, their own struggles. Imagine if every time you felt offended, you took a step back and realized that it's not about you. How liberating would that be? Suddenly their words lose their power, and you're left with a choice to continue feeling hurt or to let love heal that moment. Think of it this way: resentment and love can't live in the same space. They're like oil and water. When you choose love, resentment naturally fades. It can't stick around in a heart that's open, a heart that's free. And that's the power that makes you untouchable. You're not just protecting yourself from being hurt, you're transforming yourself into someone who radiates a kind of strength that's beyond human judgment. Here's an exercise for you. Think of the last time someone's words hurt you. Close your eyes and replay that moment. Instead of seeing yourself reacting, imagine yourself as a mountain, rooted, immovable. Picture that person's words bouncing off of you, just like raindrops sliding down a stone. Now, instead of harboring resentment, send that person love. Picture yourself surrounded by a warm, golden light, impenetrable by anything but love. This is the strength you're capable of carrying every single day. Remember, this love is not a weakness, it's a shield. When you're rooted in love, you're stronger than anything offense could ever make you. You've taken control back because no one can touch what's protected by love. Imagine the confidence that comes from knowing that you can walk into any room, face any person without the fear of being knocked down. You're walking in love, and that makes you resilient, calm, untouchable. When you make this shift, you're also giving people a gift. Your presence, your energy, it becomes a reminder to others that they don't have to live in offense or resentment either. You're spreading a quiet power that doesn't need to shout, doesn't need to prove anything, because it's rooted in something far deeper than words. That's the beauty of love. It doesn't just protect you, it transforms everyone around you. Here's a little secret: you're not defined by other people's opinions, by their looks, by their judgments. You're defined by how much you love, by how open your heart can be. Offense closes you off, love opens you up. And that openness, that willingness to meet every moment with love instead of fear, that's what makes you truly untouchable. That's the power that nothing and no one can take away from you. So the next time someone tries to tear you down, remember you're untouchable because you're rooted in love. Imagine this: what would happen if in the moment you felt the sting of offense, you chose love instead? What if, instead of giving in to that familiar feeling of hurt or resentment, you rose above it? Let that sink in for a second. Every time you choose love over offense, you're not just changing how you feel, you're transforming the energy around you. And here's the amazing part: when you rise above, you lift everyone around you with you. This isn't just about feeling good, it's about creating a ripple, a wave of positivity that extends far beyond you. Think about it, we've all been there, stuck in that loop where we replay something hurtful someone said or did. Maybe it's a harsh comment, a betrayal, or just a casual slight. And you hold on to it, replaying it like a song you don't even like. But have you ever noticed how exhausting it is to stay in that state? How it drains you, weighs you down, and clouds everything around you? That's because in those moments you're giving away your power, allowing something outside of you to dictate how you feel. But what if you took that power back? What if you made the radical choice to respond with love? To see that person not as a villain, but as another soul on their journey, doing the best they can. Here's a truth to consider: offense is a form of bondage. It keeps you locked in place, attached to whatever caused the pain. But when you choose love instead, you're breaking free. You're saying, I am bigger than this hurt. I am greater than this hurt. I am greater than this momentary pain. And suddenly the weight lifts. You're no longer shackled to that negativity. Instead, you're choosing to let go, to forgive, to rise. And when you do that, everyone around you can feel it. Have you ever noticed how energy spreads? Just as a smile can light up a room, an offended heart can cast a shadow. But a heart filled with love, that's a beacon. When you choose love, you're not just changing your own reality, you're lifting everyone around you, like a tide that raises all ships. You're teaching them, showing them, inspiring them to choose love too. Let's do a little exercise. Think about the last time someone offended you. Picture that moment in your mind. Now, instead of feeling hurt or angry, try to imagine that person as they truly are flawed, just like you. Maybe they're struggling with something you don't know about. Maybe they're carrying their own burdens, their own insecurities that drove them to act in a way that hurt you. Suddenly, it's harder to feel angry, isn't it? Because now you're seeing them with empathy, with understanding, and when you choose empathy, offense starts to dissolve, replaced by compassion. This shift doesn't just transform you, it changes the world around you. Because when you live from a place of love, you become a source of peace, a magnet for joy. People can feel that, and they respond to it. They're drawn to it. You know, they say that light attracts light, and it's true. When you choose love, you're radiating something that others can't help but respond to. So the next time you're faced with an offense, I want you to remember something. This moment is an opportunity. It's a chance to show yourself and the world that you're bigger than any offense, stronger than any slight. Choose to rise. Choose love, not just for yourself, but for everyone who needs to see what's possible. Because when you lift yourself, you lift us all.